We are live.
Calling to order the Board of Regents regular meeting for May 28th, 2026. The time is now 10:04 a.m. Eastern. May I have a roll call? I recognize Felicia Brown for the roll call.
Chair Santiago,
Present.
Vice Chair James,
Present.
Regent Balducci,
Here.
Regent Bloom,
Here.
Regent Cummings,
Here.
Regent Japanin, Regent Forth,
Present.
Regent Williams,
Here.
Regent Wright.
Here.
Can you just say? Regent Mann. Absent. Student Regent Lawson.
Present.
Student Regent
Here.
FAC, Regent C. Sanker.
Here.
Commissioner Bartolo, Bartolomeo. Absent. And Commissioner Tutone. Absent Smith. Commissioner O'Keefe. Absent. Commissioner Turnbull. Absent. Workforce Officer Gallier.
Present.
Under Secretary absent. Present. President Paul. Here. President Ognosky.
Present.
President Fitzmason.
Present.
Interim President Fuller.
Present.
President Bernal.
Present.
Interim President Goya.
Present.
And Chair Bartolo.
Thank you. Before I call for a motion to adopt the agenda, I want to note that there will be no interim chancellor report this month. I also note that we will be having an executive session today to discuss preliminary drafts related to board affairs. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries. Let's see. All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ari Santiago, and I'm honored and humbled to be leading my first meeting as board chair. Before joining this board, I spent over 20 years building a company I started from scratch in my apartment in Hartford with a computer and a dream that ultimately grew to employ hundreds of people across the country. After selling that company at the end of 2024, I transitioned to board work, spending more time with my family and giving back to the communities I care about. In addition to this board, I've served and continue to serve on others, nonprofit and private, and work closely with the Connecticut business community through organizations like CBIA and Manufacture CT. I share this because it shapes who I am and how I see this role. I am someone who has built things, helped people grow, managed through hard times, served on boards and reported to boards, and been accountable to results. I'm a lifelong Connecticut resident with an amazingly accomplished and beautiful wife and two wonderful children we're raising here. That's the lens I bring to this chair. I am aware of concerns surrounding the conduct of the prior interim chancellor and am committed to an independent and transparent investigation, along with taking appropriate action based on the findings. To that end, we issued a public RFP for which the submission period closed on May 18th. The Office of Compliance, together with the chairs of the Audit and Human Resources Committees, have been reviewing all qualifying proposals and are in the final stages of selecting a firm. There will be an initial report by June 30, and the final findings will be made public upon completion. This is a commitment the board has made in writing and one I will hold us to. Recently, several institutional senates have completed votes of no confidence in this board, and I expect the remaining institutions will follow. I do not dismiss that, and I am not going to wait for it to quietly go away. I've already reached out to some faculty leadership directly, and I'll continue to do that. Not through intermediaries, not through press releases, but through actual conversations. Rebuilding trust requires listening first, and I am listening. Thinking about action. On Tuesday, this board appointed Natalie Braswell as interim chancellor of our system. That appointment was the result of a deliberate process, including 17 candidates, a criteria-driven evaluation, and 2 excellent finalists. Ultimately, Natalie stood out for her ability to lead through complex situations and to deliver results. Her mandate is to stabilize operations, support our institutions, and steward CSCU through this period while we conduct a full national search for permanent leadership. Interim Chancellor Braswell's first day in the office will be June 15th. She is finishing her current responsibilities with care and professionalism, which we would want from anyone leaving a role, and that is exactly the kind of leader we want running this system. Before I close, I want to take a moment to acknowledge a loss in our CSCU community. Herb Isaacson of West Hartford passed away this past Sunday at the age of 89. Herb was a longtime member of the Northwestern Community College Foundation Board, one of the people who quietly makes our institution stronger year after year, not for recognition, but because they believe in what schools stand for. His family has honored that commitment by including a bequest to an endowment at CT State Northwestern in his memory. That is a profound act of generosity, and it deserves to be recognized. I knew Herb personally. His son, Brett, is one of my closest and dearest friends. I remember Herb always with a book or a newspaper in his hand, full of knowledge and insights. He was a graduate of Dartmouth and Harvard Law School and believed in education as a path to opportunity and chose our community college as a place to leave a part of his legacy. Herb would be happy to hear me call him quite the mensch. We are grateful for his service and extend our deepest condolences to Brett, Ben, Amy, and the entire Isaacson family. As I reflect on what is in front of us, I know that the investigation matters. The leadership transition matters. But neither of those things is the reason CSCU exists. In my time building a company, we hired a lot of people along the way. And over time, I noticed something. When a resume came across our desk with a CSCU institution on it, it moved to the top of the pile. The graduates we hired from CSCU were prepared, they were hungry, and they delivered. One of those graduates, a Blue Devil, Jonathan Pace, came to work alongside me and spent nearly a decade helping build the business we created. He rose to become our Chief People Officer, responsible for recruiting and retaining talent across the country. He built that career starting at a CSCU institution. I've seen firsthand what these colleges and universities do for Connecticut people and Connecticut businesses, and I know we are nowhere near the ceiling of what is possible. That's why this board has been working on a North Star, a framework that builds on the accessibility, completion, and talent work already underway and pushes it further. The goal is to connect learners to the outcomes they are seeking, not just a credential, but a great job, a career path, economic mobility, and a life they can build right here. When Connecticut employers say make it here, we want our graduates to be the reason that they can. We will formalize this framework, we will attach real metrics to it, we will report publicly on progress, and we will not let the challenges of this moment stop us from creating the future we are here to build. I'm honored to be a part of this institution and this board, and look forward to making a brighter future with everyone that wants to join in on that project. Thank you. We'll move on to public comment in the agenda. We'll turn it over to Felicia to run the public comment and just take a moment to remind everyone of our rules of decorum that have been talked about for this board and for public comment. And with that, we look forward to hearing from people.
For Santiago today, there are staff and faculty members who would like to give public comment. There are 2 speakers who are remote. The remainder are in person. Our first speaker is Professor Christine Cantarella from Western Connecticut State University.
Hi, my name is Christine Hagel-Cantarella. I'm the chair of the Department of Social Sciences and a professor of anthropology at Western Connecticut State. And I'm here today to address the topic of long-term financial resilience of my institution in the context of the CSCU system. As of 2025, we have excellent leadership in place at WCSU. Many of my colleagues and I have been impressed with the transparency, vision, and problem-solving ethos of our new president, Jesse Bernal, and our new provost, Stephen Hegedus. Shared governance at our institution is strong. We have meaningful opportunities to be in conversation with our administrators and to provide inputs on our strategic plan, Western Rising, and they share our commitment to a quality liberal arts education. These leaders and many others are moving us into a future that is financially sustainable by stewarding our resources, which includes not only state funding and tuition dollars, but all of the things that make WCSU rich: our accomplished and dedicated faculty, our high caliber staff, our ambitious student body, our improved facilities. A recent multi-million-dollar grant from a former dean is funding innovation in applied and community-based learning initiatives. Our honors program is in demand, and our HSI designation means that we're recognized as having an important role to play in serving our Hispanic population. So why am I reminding you of some of the strengths of our institution with which I hope you're already familiar? Because I am aware that a proposal has begun moving forward at Central Connecticut State that is likely to disrupt and reverse some of the very exciting growth and development we are experiencing at WCSU. The proposal to transform Central into an R2 polytechnic raises significant concerns about our long-term financial stability. In particular, President Toro has made it clear in meetings that she wishes to alter the way the state block grant is divided between the 4 campuses as a means of funding this initiative. This would create a 2-tier CSU system. WCSU and ECSU would be relegated to a lower tier, receiving ever smaller shares of the block grant pie. Toro's polytechnic fantasy pits institutions against one another in a fight for scarce resources. Potential students decide which of our universities or community college campuses to attend based on multiple factors, including proximity. We know that our students must balance family and other responsibilities with school, and that most commute to campus. Potential students who live near WCSU and who are graduating from school districts that are growing faster than anywhere else in the state should not receive less support and fewer options because they choose WestConn. Moreover, as the system's only HSI designated institution, I am also alarmed by the possible diversion of resources away from our university. Recent scandals in the BOR that imperil taxpayer support and funding for CSCU that it is even more important that we avoid pitting institutions against one another for our resources. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Dom DiGennaro. He is a student at CT State Gateway. Dom, are you ready to speak? Dom,
Oh, yes. Thank you. Sorry, I couldn't hear.
you may begin.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Dom DiGennaro, and I am a student at CT State Gateway. I'm speaking today to offer the student perspective on recent events with the Board of Regents. I just want to start by saying I am so appreciative of this opportunity to speak, and elevating student voices is laudable, and I thank you for that. So I have a sort of rhetorical question, and it should be simple. Who does the Board of Regents serve? I'll give you a hint. It's not the people who wield the authority. The answer is obvious. It's students. As a student of a school in the CSU system, I feel as though there is a large disconnect between the decision makers and the students. I can say with relative confidence that many students do not know about the recent news regarding the Board of Regents. I found out through local news sources, but I'm also an outlier in the student body. I make it a point to know the ins and outs of the institutions that govern my school, including the Board of Regents, but most students don't. Why is that? It's an easy answer to say students don't care. I wholeheartedly disagree with that sentiment. I believe students are not adequately informed enough to form an opinion about any of the things the higher ups are doing. As a result, there is a growing disconnect between students and administration, the decision makers, and those whom these decisions impact. Another problem I observe is a growing fatigue among students, even students like myself who are highly involved. A few months back, I spoke during an appropriations committee panel, and I basically pled with legislators to invest in the futures not only of our schools, but also our students. A part of me, frankly, is a little bit disappointed that I am and have been fighting so hard for students to receive a fair shot in this system when this is how the system treats us. To be clear, students are the ones being impacted most by the unclear and unstable administration that presides over our schools. When there is a constant change in these high-level positions, students pay the price because there is more focus on those in power than those who deal directly with the students. Is CSU able to address the issues in, for example, the audit published recently about CT State Community College when they can't figure out their own leadership? I choose to believe every person present today has the same goal: to strengthen leadership in order to provide high-quality education to the students. My ask is I implore you to keep our students in the forefront of your mind today and every day, because we deserve clarity, transparency, and student-centered leadership. Like I said, I am grateful for this opportunity to speak on behalf of the students, and I thank you for your time and attention. With that, I yield.
Thank you. Our next speaker who will be speaking in public is Ethan Bresson, a student at CT State Tunxas.
Yes, my name is Ethan Bresson, and I am a student at CT State Tunxas. I have been highly involved in my school as I am the vice president of service at my school's Phi Theta Kappa, and I'm studying engineering science. I'm here today because, like many of my fellow students, I feel that current CSCU leadership is not meeting our needs or operating in our interests. CT State campuses are understaffed, under-resourced, and underfunded, and this is a direct symptom of our incompetent and corrupt system-wide leaders. Wellness counselors are critically understaffed, and we just had a worker resign due to incompetent management. So when students need mental health support, we have to wait weeks or months to use an personal corporate app instead of talking to a real person. And many students rely on our food pantry, but it is only open for 1.5 hours for 4 days during the week, and that's in the morning. So students who work during the day and take night classes, like myself, cannot access the same resources that other students can. And this is because our campus president and dean won't hire enough staff to support extended hours, or let current staff flex their schedules to meet student needs. It shouldn't matter what time of day some people come to public college campus. All students should be able to access the same resources and supports that we all need to thrive academically. The problems students on my campus experience all come down to a lack of appropriate funding. CSU students deserve accountable representation on the Board of Regents because the decisions you make behind closed doors affect our lives very greatly. We deserve real shared governance by a voting board members who have experience in public higher education, either as faculty or students. We need a Board of Regents who personally understands the struggle our system faces and who can prioritize our needs, the needs of students by funding our campuses, staffing our campuses, and investing in our futures. Student, faculty, and staff throughout CSCU should be able to vote to elect a Board of Regents who reflect our diverse backgrounds and whose first allegiance is to our learning and our future, not to corporate interests. Our current system is broken. The depravity of the behavior shown by CSCU leadership over the past several years has brought the issue to the surface, and it's time to take decisive action to democratize this board and give stakeholders a real voice in how our system works. We don't need to spend millions of dollars in public funds on consultants when your students and workers already have the answer. Thank you for your time. And lastly, myself and other students have been trying to reach out to our student representatives on the Board of Regents. So can you please let us know how we can get in touch with you about these issues? Thank you and have a good day.
Our next speaker is Professor Sissel from Central Connecticut State University.
Test, 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 1, 2.
Now we
test.
got you, Phil.
Yep,
We got your back.
So good.
We can hear you on the WebEx. Thank you, everybody, for your help on that.
Let's continue with the public comment. Again, Professor Cunningham, thank you. And let's go to who's next.
Our next speaker is L. Vandermark, professor at CT State Asnuntuk. You may begin.
Thank you. Shorter person here. Good morning, Chair Santiago, Regents, and Presidents. Your remarks this morning and the communications you sent the last few days are a good start. But as you noted, it is the actions that follow that matter. My name is Al Vandermark, and for 3 more days, I am president of the College Senate at CT State. I am here this morning to speak to the vote of no confidence, overwhelmingly adopted earlier this week. CT State is the 4th largest community college in the nation, but we cannot continue to be saddled with the burden of CSCU. So let's unpack that. First, CSCU takes tens of millions of dollars from us annually. This year, it was $43 million. More than half our deficit is because we subsidize the operating costs of CSCU. Second, they interfere with the management of the college. They are an additional layer of bureaucracy that we have to contend with. Faculty and staff cannot discern system office from college office. And that's because system office ran the 12 independently accredited community colleges during the consolidation process. The power they consolidated during the merger, they've been unwilling to relinquish. CSCU does not meddle in the other 5 institutions the way they do at CT State, and they refuse to stop interfering with our operations. We cannot attract the visionary leaders who build systems and processes that we need at CT State. As the 4th largest multi-campus college in the nation, we need CSCU to be downsized, right-sized, and their functions limited. It is past time to admit that CSCU is a failed experiment. Year after year, debacle after debacle, we are humiliated to be associated with CSCU. The dedicated faculty and staff at CT State have courageously endured one fiasco after another. Through the media, we become aware of one embarrassment after another. It is embarrassing to be associated with CSCU. Character matters. The problems and concerns before us today are a result of the people we hire. Every faculty, staff, administrator, and manager under the umbrella of CSCU has to work with and lead and be led by the person you hire next. We can only know what people show us. Brilliant strategist, incredible political acumen, inspirational leader, none of those matters. None of those matter if leaders lacked character and common decency. We need to rise above doing the minimum and do what is right. When the results of this investigation are known, we need to boldly confront a system that creates a culture that silences those abused, harassed, and mistreated. I request 3 minutes to finish my remarks.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you. We also must be careful to acknowledge those on the periphery, those who are implicated by accusation or innuendo receive fair treatment. Persecution in the media is the worst place for this to unfold. We must confront larger issues of process and practice and not be limited to violations of compliance. It must extend to learning how our policies and our practices protect the culture that allowed the system to flourish. For the last 3.5 years, I have had the honor of serving CT State as College Senate President. Before that, I managed impact bargaining for the 2 largest bargaining units that moved staff from 12 independently accredited community colleges to what would become CT State. I was also one of 3 people at the table negotiating the previous collective bargaining agreement for 2 unions. As a result, I have had unique roles that permitted me to understand how CSCU operates. I have seen behind the curtain and watched. This morning, I stand before you and say, CT State is surviving despite CSC. No, yes, surviving. CT State is surviving despite CSCU. We cannot begin to see what we can be with CSCU. Let us explore our potential. You merged us. Now give us the opportunity to thrive. It's time to right-size CSCU and then go to the Governor and General Assembly and hold them accountable for creating us. It is time for CT State to rise, and you must be our champions.
Our next speaker is Kari Swanson.
Carrie.
Carrie.
Can you hear me? Good morning, Interim Board of Regents Chair Santiago, members of the Board of Regents, colleagues, and guests. I'm Carrie Swanson, Associate Librarian at SCSU and Chapter President of SCSU AAUP. I'm here today to address the board on the topic of sexual harassment. According to the 2024 Me Too report, a national study of sexual harassment and assault, 81% of women experience sexual harassment or assault in their lifetimes. I'm not an attorney, but as SCSU AAUP chapter president and a recent MBA recipient whose concentration was human resources, I am familiar with the board's policy on sexual harassment and with Title IX and Title VII. I've read the redacted 60-page document that was released to the media. I believe that any reasonable person who reads that document would conclude that the alleged conduct of the former chancellor was severe, pervasive, and objectively offensive. In addition to being horrified by the numerous screenshots contained in the document, I was also staggered to learn from WTNH last week that then General Counsel Karen Bufkin allegedly told the complainant that she should continue to conduct business as usual to keep the circle tight. CSU's resolution process procedure for sexual harassment states that CSU may offer supportive measures as appropriate. I fail to see how conducting business as usual or keeping the circle tight could be considered supportive in any way. The system's own procedure document provides non-exhaustive list of supportive measures, which could include mutual no contact directives. Despite this, the complainant was allegedly subjected to an additional 9 days of harassment. Every employee in the CSU system is required to attend mandated reporter training and training about sexual harassment and sexual misconduct. Every employee, presumably including the former general counsel, expected to at least know about the policies and procedures to which I just referred. So it is beyond my comprehension how we arrived at this moment with these allegations and this alleged response. On behalf of the faculty I represent, I say that this body and the leadership of this system have become a gross distraction from the work that we do every day to educate and support the future workforce of this state, a significant proportion of whom are women. On behalf of the women who attend and work for these institutions as the purported leaders of this organization, do better. Conduct an actual transparent investigation, hold those who failed in this situation accountable, and commit to ensuring that nothing like this,
Ms. Swanson, your time.
please let me finish, happens again to anyone. One final note. I am glad that unlike a faculty member complainant whose name was released to the press last year, this complainant's identity has been protected. I would like the board, the leadership of CSU, and the complainant to know that I and many women faculty members stand with her.
Our next speaker is Louise B. Williams, a professor at Central Connecticut State University.
Good morning. As most of you know, I'm Louise Williams, a professor of history at CCSU and president of CSU AAUP. I want to begin by welcoming new board chair Santiago. As I said to him last week, you are brave to take on this position right now. The past leadership of our board and system have left a great deal of unhappiness among faculty and staff. You know this from the no confidence resolutions that were just passed by the Senates of all 4 state universities and CT State. They point out that our current problems are just the most recent example of repeated failures of leadership, accountability, transparency, due diligence, and meaningful shared governance since 2011. They call for the legislature to evaluate the system with the possibility of abolishing or reorganizing it. I haven't yet thought through the issue of reorganization, but I have thought about the system's leadership. I even looked at the state statutes to see what the legislature wants you to do. I ended up with more questions than answers. Here are a few of them. First, who really is in charge of running our system? According to the statutes, the board serves as the governing body and establishes the policies and goals of the system, while the chancellor only implements the directives of the board. But when the faculty watch these meetings, it seems that the chancellor is the one who's making the key decisions, and the board just rubber stamps them. Will this board take its responsibility to govern and oversee the effectiveness of the system more seriously in the future? Second, the statutes also say the board is supposed to develop a, quote, master plan for the system. Do you have such a plan? Do you really consider Chair Gui's ACT framework or Chancellor Chang's CSCU 2030 real master plans? Do you understand the difference between a vague plan filled with quick fixes and gimmicks and one which has a serious vision about the value of higher education and a real understanding of what goes on in the classroom? Will you continue to cater to our current governor's obsession with a certain type of workforce development and make this the only goal for the system? That's not what the legislature intended. They have a far more comprehensive and aspirational vision for higher education in this state. They direct you to focus on educational quality, to try to achieve a position of national leadership, to value research and innovation. They tell you to promote cultural development, to help solve the problems of society, to build relationships with civic and cultural leaders, and provide community service opportunities. The board's job, as the legislature sees it, is not just to serve business, but to provide a comprehensive, wide-ranging, excellent education that can appeal to all types of residents. I hope you will do this in the future. Finally, the statutes give you the very difficult job of maintaining the distinct missions and differences between the various institutions while facilitating their cooperation, synergy, and independent support.
Your time is left.
In other words, you must balance autonomy with systemness, to use former Chancellor Chang's word. How will you do this when
I'm sorry, I just want to, do we have much more? Okay.
when institutions are competing for students and resources? Above all, will you make a commitment to really listen to the faculty voice this time? We've warned you about gimmicks in the past and unworkable plans that have proven failures. We have the knowledge and expertise of education, of our discipline, of our students, and we are committed to working with you to come up with a real master plan for this system. Thank you.
Our next speaker is John O'Connor, a professor at Central Connecticut State University.
Good morning, new chair Santiago and everyone on the board. My name is John O'Connor. I teach in the sociology department at CCSU. I'm a longtime member of CSU AUP. We want to welcome the new Chancellor Braswell. And I can speak for all the folks in this room wearing red and say that we sincerely wish her good luck. And she is going to need a lot of luck to turn this system around. Our system is a fabulous disaster. We are the laughing stock of the state. People read and hear about us and just shake their heads in disbelief. The CSCU system is dying. And the question in front of us all is this Board of Regents killing it? We are a smorgasbord of dysfunction. We have it all: scandal, harassment, mismanagement, community college consolidation, a close call on direct dealing, legislative silliness, and more educational gimmicks than you could possibly shake a stick at. This system is a hot mess. This board is a hot mess. In February 2011, when then Governor Malloy outlined his plan for an education overhaul, bringing this board into existence, it was argued that this move would result in more resources for classroom teaching and instruction. Yet classrooms and instructions are the last thing this board has ever been concerned with. I think if we ask CSU AUP faculty, has this board ever once made a decision that has helped them do their work, to help them engage students, to help them enhance students' educational experience, the answer would be a resounding no. The evidence of this was seen clearly in the last round of contract negotiations. CSU AUP approached those negotiations hoping to do three things: to help our members provide the excellent education that our students deserve, to address some of the instructional equity that defines our institutions, and to build our learning communities. We went to the table hoping to solve problems and address issues. Compared to previous negotiations, the union was hopeful. We were told that the BOR wanted to do things differently. What a joke that turned out to be. We wasted months in go-nowhere interest-based bargaining. The move to positional bargaining was a horror show, with CSU AUP forced to deal with high-priced lawyers, right, who knew nothing about our workplaces. We wasted time educating them about how things worked, all the while being lectured on management's rights and other nonsense. Both sides could have made real progress, but Maduco, Bufkin, Guay, Angler, and Albrecht made sure that was impossible. As usual, this board had their heads collectively in the sand. As a system, we are quite content to rely on part-time exploited labor, overworked full-timers, and our coaches, librarians, and counselors are nothing but an afterthought. Both Chair Santiago and Governor Lamont has hinted that our new chancellor.
Time has lapsed.
Yep. Our new chancellor has crisis management.
Excuse me, how much more time do we have?
I'm almost done.
Okay, if we could just please, I'm trying to, listen, I know we're in special times and I want to give everyone an opportunity, but we just got to try and tighten it up. So I appreciate you wrapping it up.
I'll move quickly.
Okay.
Okay. Both Chair Santiago and Governor Lamont have hinted that our new chancellor has crisis management experience. Well, our system has been in crisis since it came into existence. Our system has no credibility, and this board has too many corporate and entrepreneur types. We desperately need education leaders. Are there any in this room? The only way out of this cesspool is to focus on the classroom. Everything else is a distraction. Our student CSU AUP members, 4Cs members, and all the people of Connecticut deserve so much better than they have received from this system and the board. We should either fix it or we should all grab shovels and bury it. It may be dead. Thank you.
Our last speaker is A. Fiona Pearson, Professor, Central Connecticut State University.
Good morning, members of the Board of Regents and members of the audience. I look forward to the day when I can visit and thank you for your foresight and visionary leadership. I really do. Instead, we in CSU AUP are yet again meeting with legislators, shaking our heads in embarrassment and assuring them that their investment in our system, their investment in our faculty, their investment in our students is worth it. We argue that they should invest in us in spite of the clear failures of Students First to generate the cost savings that were promised by then CSCU President Marco Jakian. We argue that they should invest in us in spite of shoddy, hallucination-filled documents such as the Charter Oak Scaling Task Force report, which sold false promises of revenue-generating programs without a whit of concern for academic integrity and actual student learning. We argue that they should invest in us in spite of the hours of time faculty have wasted developing KPIs in response to the ACT framework developed and imposed by this body in fall of 2024. Does anyone in this room even remember the 3 pillars behind the 3-letter acronym? You do, Santiago, but I don't know if anyone else does. We faculty are left wasting quite a lot of our valuable time trying to make sense of these novelty quick fixes with snazzy names and vacuous descriptions. In spite of all these obstacles and what I've described is but a small sample, Our union, CSU AUP, successfully secured support from both the legislature and the governor to make one of the most expansive free college programs in this country a reality within our system. We began with an idea in 2024 and 2025, worked with our legislative allies to draft language for a bill that would expand the successful PACT program to the 4 CSUs. And this past legislative session, CSU AAUP worked alongside our students, gathering over 500 signatures across the state in support of a petition demanding that our legislature and the governor fully fund the Mary Ann Handley Finish Line Scholarship and the Student Loan Reimbursement Program. Meanwhile, we have to answer for a revolving door of presidents and chancellors and R2 and Polytech marketing scams. While we squander money on the latest fad, we see our department purchasing cards frozen 2 months before the end of the fiscal year. We don't need hubs. We don't need hives. I'm not even sure we need a new chancellor. What we need is for you to invest in the creative and life-changing work that is already being accomplished on our 4 campuses. Find the funding to truly secure the Finish Line Scholarship for all eligible students across our state. Just as we are asking our legislators to trust and invest in our system, we ask you to trust and invest wisely in us. As I said at the beginning, I look forward to the day when I can visit and actually thank you for your foresight and visionary leadership. I really do, and I thank you for your time.
Chair Santiago, that concludes today's public comment.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Let's move on to the agenda. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the March 19, 2026 regular meeting as presented? Second. Motion and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carried. Minutes are adopted. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the April 7th, 2026 special meeting as presented?
So moved. Second.
And seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the April 10, 2026 special meeting as presented?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, that gets us through the minutes approval. Let's move on to the next on the agenda. Regent Bloom, do you have a report for Academic and Student Affairs Committee? Where is I? Oh, there you are. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chairman Santiago.
Chair Santiago.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
My apologies. Just, after the public comment, I did want to make a comment of
Is your microphone on?
I don't know.
Oh,
Is it
I
on
think
now?
you're not talking into it. It's on. I heard you. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So yes, just after the public comment, I wanted to make a comment of my own, just as someone who has served on this board now for, I want to say this is my fifth year. And I've seen a lot of these
Just
things.
1 second. Maybe someone could close the door. I think we're
Yeah.
getting some competing noise from the hallway. Outgoing Senate President Vandermark showing us multitude of skills she can help.
Thank you. So yeah, it seemed like something needed to be said. If you don't mind, I tried to kind of get my thoughts on paper so that I won't take too long. But I just want to point out that it has been 15 years since the system has been in existence. And I'm not sure I believe that it works particularly well. There were 5 people in the chancellor's role in the first 6 years of the system. There have been 2 resigning in disgrace within the last 12 months. We're still paying one of them to do nothing, and the consequences of the other's behavior will likely cost us millions of dollars. I worry that what it takes for someone to choose to fill that role is poor judgment. And in a state where there is no funding or support for a genuine vision for the system, no budget for responsible planning, no meaningful accountability to the public, to the mission of public higher education, this might be what you get. And yet we are currently operating within and suffering under the institutional structures imposed on us in the face of much protest from faculty and staff by those very leaders. And the real tragedy is not the personal failings of those leaders, but the professional products with which they have burdened the state, our faculty and staff, and our students. The only recent leader retiring of his own accord was installed without a proper search or qualifications, and has actually, in my opinion, done the most damage to the state. If you ask the demoralized staff and of the faculty of the demoralized and despairing faculty and staff of the Consolidated Community College, that legacy will be one of building an engine that cements the racial and economic inequality of the state, unless the tireless efforts of faculty and staff there actually somehow succeed. And you heard some of that from El Vandermark. Those of us who still believe in the value of this system do so in spite of, not because of, this entity and the system office and that staffs its initiatives. There's no meaningful oversight and accountability to the needs of the state. And I get it, because I also sit through multiple meetings each month with agendas that are hundreds of pages long and contain detailed financial and curricular information. Not everybody has experience in education or the financial background. This is a board of volunteers. But maybe that's the reason a system of this size does not work, because there's no way to exert actual meaningful oversight when mastering the volume of information is the bare minimum for even knowing what's going on. So a centralized system is uniquely placed to secure funding and ensure the stability of these institutions. It is responsible for transparency concerning allocation of the funding and the cost of its services. It should centralize information and facilitate coordination between its member institutions. But none of those functions is one that we can say the system has accomplished at any point in its existence. So the tragedy of systems of injustice is that no matter how well-meaning its members, we cannot avoid its harms. I believe it might be time to dismantle this system. But in the absence of that, I want to echo some of the recommendations made by my past co-chair, David Blitz, who submitted written comment to the board. In particular, I want to highlight certain recommendations that include monthly reports to the chancellor, to the board, reports on the implementation of board resolutions. We passed resolutions without checking in on how they went. Limiting the system office function to collecting and disseminating information with the aims of maximum transparency and facilitation of institutions' initiatives, not system initiatives. And in particular, the exact amounts and justifications for the amounts that the system office, which has no state allocation of its own, removes from the block grants to fund its functions. And also increased participation of faculty members, at least on the level that students are able to participate in the board. I hope that those are useful recommendations in the absence of other solutions, and I have other thoughts about structure in the future, but I just wanted to say those things. Thank you.
Well, Regent Sager, thank you for bringing that up. I think we have lots of work to do. Certainly, my first meeting, second day, I'm not going to be able to, I don't want to spend too much time talking about the past. What I want to do is talk about moving forward. And in a world where I do believe we either rise and succeed together or we fail separately, I think an environment where all the institutions are competing against each other seems less favorable than one where we are working together for the betterment of the students in the state of Connecticut. And I agree on the face of it, we must do better. And we will do better. And your comments around accountability to board policy and changes, I think are well made and well taken. I think the only body of work I can attest to personally on this board is my work as vice chair on the finance committee, which I know you participate in sometimes. And I would encourage you to go back, and anyone else to go back and look at the work we've done by setting new direction and continuing to push accountability and change in that area as a marker of the type of leadership you can look for on this board moving forward. And what I can also say is I'm in contact with every person, every regent on this board. And I can tell you to a person, they are all here because they believe in the benefit of the system. They believe in making the system better for the students and for the state of Connecticut. And that's what they do every single time they come in here. And so I take all the comments where they are, and I go back to where I ended my last comment. We as a board are here to make this system better. That is all we are here to do. We aren't here for the riches. We aren't here for the adulation. We're here to make the system better. And we are prepared individually and as a group to work with anybody who's going to come to the table in a spirit of collaboration and join us in that project. And I welcome offline, online, for you and anyone else to do that, because I can tell you we're here with open ears and open arms. So with that, I would turn it back over to our chairman for an update.
Okay.
It's you, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. The Academic and Student Affairs Committee met on April 10th and May 1st. Both meetings, present at both meetings were committee members Regent Juanita James, Regent Rick Porth, Regent Dell Cummings, as well as the committee chair. Also was present was ex officio member Professor Colina Sasenka. Several modifications and discontinuations to academic programs at Connecticut State, Central, Eastern, and Southern were reviewed and recommended by ASA as set forth in items 13C, D, E, F, G, and H of the agenda. These reflect the ongoing academic program review process at the campuses, reflecting shared governance principles. The new Connecticut State Associate Degree in Public Health and two related certificates, item 13K and 13I and J, are noteworthy. They address the almost 50% decline in Connecticut's public health workforce since 2021, impacted clearly by COVID. And they are supported by grant funds. The initiatives are supported by grant funds awarded by the Connecticut Department of Public Health and the Center for Disease Control. As skilled entry-level professionals, graduates of these programs will contribute to ensuring that Connecticut residents' need for public health services are met in public health departments, community health agencies, and environmental health organizations. In addition, students in these programs will be able to advance smoothly to bachelor's level programs at CSCU campuses. Items 13N and 13O and the supporting materials for CSU promotions and tenure recommendations, as well as the faculty research grants, reflect a broad range of important academic and research accomplishments of the CSCU faculty. The faculty awards were celebrated here earlier today at the awards breakfast ceremony. And I've gone through them. Some of the work in these projects is very impressive. The CSCU Spring 26 final census and report, also reviewed at the ASA committee meeting, is also noteworthy. We're talking about enrollments here. Overall system headcount enrollment has increased by more than 2,000 students to over 66,000 compared to spring of 2025. We compare spring to spring and fall to fall. And enrollment has increased or remained stable at each of the colleges. The spring 2026 census data reflect continuing system-wide progress in enrollment growth, marking increased student engagement and access. Compared to spring 25, Connecticut State experienced a 1.8% increase. The state universities grew by 4.1%, and Charter Oak State saw a significant and very impressive 18.3% increase, reinforcing the expanding demand for flexible online and working adult-friendly pathways. Credit-bearing certificate enrollment grew by 6.5%. signaling sustained interest in short-term workforce-aligned credentials. The number of Pell Grant recipients increased by 6.3%, demonstrating continuous success in enrolling and supporting low-income students. Graduate enrollment remains stable with a modest 0.3% increase. The system is continuing to monitor the worrisome impact of changes in federal law and policy related to graduate degree affordability and student loan funding. And this is This is potentially, as I said before, a worrisome issue. Credit-bearing certificate enrollment grew by 6.5%, signaling, as I mentioned before, sustained interest in short-term workforce-aligned credentials. To conclude, students are enrolling in more credits overall, with full-time enrollment serving as a strong indicator of improved retention, academic momentum, and progression toward completion. Our growth in FTE, full-time equivalent enrollment, particularly among full-time students, signals that CSU is not only growing, but strengthening the quality, intensity, and long-term impact of that growth. In conclusion, whatever else we hear and see in the papers and on broadcast media, et cetera, the teaching, learning, research, and public service activities on the campuses of CSU are continuing unabated. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you for that report and for putting the focus where it belongs on the outcomes and the students in the classroom. Thank you, Chair Bloom. And just wanted to also say, for those that weren't there, prior to the board meeting, we had a award ceremony, and it was really a pleasure to celebrate the remarkable achievements of faculty and put a focus on the great work that gets done day to day across the system in the classroom, and to recognize faculty that put their careers together to help serve students and help the students make a better life. So thank you. And again, congratulations to all of the award recipients. I'd like to recognize the chair of our audit committee, Chair Williams, for a report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The audit committee met yesterday. We took up a number of items of business, but of great importance was to thank Elise Wright for her tremendous work as chairman of the audit committee for many years. Also, as an ongoing member, I believe her term is coming to an end and she will be sadly departing the Board of Regents, but she has performed incredible service to not only the Audit Committee, but to the Board of Regents and to the mission of educating students in Connecticut. So Elise, thank you again for your great work. And we did take some action. We amended the Audit Committee charter. That charter will be sent to the board in advance of our next meeting for your consideration at the next meeting. And I also have some ideas for increasing the membership of the audit committee. With Elise's departure, we'll need a new voting member of the committee, but I've got another idea that I would like to submit to you, Mr. Chairman, in terms of adding to the overall support of the committee as well. And I'll do that in advance of the next meeting. Thank you.
Well, I'll start with the end and say I look forward to that conversation. And I will also say that you're getting ahead. At least at the next meeting, I look forward to celebrating Elise, but your comments around her and her participation are very well made and well said. And I think her contributions are only exceeded by her humility with which she delivers them. And so we'll try not to embarrass her too much, but we will acknowledge all the work that she's put in. And I will miss her counsel. I'll miss her smile and her good cheer, which is needed at various times when her term is over.
So I'm glad we'll get to share that at next meeting.
Yes,
as
we're
well.
going to keep it going. Yes, exactly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. I acknowledge Regent Balducci for remarks on the Infrastructure and Finance Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There were two items we had today that were placed on the consent calendar and to action taken on them already. There are no action items we need to move forward with at this time that need a vote, but would like to call on you, Mr. Chairman, to give your explanation, dissertation, and comments moving forward, because I think it's important that everyone on our committee, on the board, and those in the public hear them. So with that, I would now turn it back to you.
Well, I appreciate that. I'll switch hats momentarily to the Vice Chair of the Finance and Infrastructure Committee for probably the last time here, and appreciate the recognition. In addition to the action items that Regent Balducci spoke about, we discussed financial improvement changes in response to Regents calling for financial reports, and we asked them, the leadership, to improve financial reporting, leveraging 4 guiding principles. And so we renewed those conversations, and there's a slide that summarizes them. But we asked the report to be improved, thinking about clarity, conciseness, accuracy, and timeliness of reporting. We asked for reporting to separate operations from one-time reserve activity. We asked for transparency that must be actionable, not just disclosed, but actionable. And we asked that there be a strengthening of the connection between campus strategy and the financial results. I'm proud to report that progress has been made on that, and we will see revised reporting when it comes out at our next meeting. So I look forward to those improvements. And back to the point, this was something issued by the Finance Committee, as you well know, Regent Balducci, back in the March meeting. And we have stayed on it. We have asked for accountability. We've seen progress, and we look forward to unveiling that progress to the full board next month. I will say one thing in addition to that, which is the guiding principle that we've talked about is, yes, improvement, yes, making progress, but it's about continuous improvement. We do not expect that in one fell swoop, everything will be improved. We look for improvements and then continuing improvements. That's something that you and I have spoke about, and under your leadership, I know that we're moving that forward, and I really appreciate that. Finally, just as a preview, which we talked about at the meeting as well, we spent the executive summary reviewing draft spending plan from the institutions. The institutions did a good job revising their budget templates. However, we should see that the state plan, the plans that we have right now, the draft plans, showed revenues totaling $1.15 billion, with expenditures totaling $1.3 billion for 2027. That means we're projecting a $150 million deficit across the system for fiscal year 2027. When the BOR has an opportunity to review and approve the spending plans at our June meeting, it's clear to me, as it is to you, that this will require immediate review and action by the board.
And you may want to repeat that number, Mr. Chairman.
Sure. There'll be a $150 million deficit across the entire system. And so we will be looking at, and we have been talking about, we'll continue to look at what the plans for the future are to take action on that. And I know we'll be recommending action to the full board at the June meeting. So I wanted folks to know where we stood on that report. So with my update there, I'll hand it back to you to close it out.
Thank you. I would just reiterate your comments about the debt and what we're going to have to do in order to continue serving the public, students in particular, as we move forward. That's a big number. We're going to have to come up with ideas, programs perhaps, that can help us raise those kind of dollars as we move forward into the next fiscal year.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Regent Balducci, and look forward to working together on that. I'd like to acknowledge Regent Porth for remarks on the Governance and Nominations Committee.
Thank you, Chair. Our Governance and Nominations Committee met in early April. Members of our committee include Ira Bloom, Juanita James, and Don Williams. We had a busy month, including the first training session consistent with recently passed state law for onboarding or orientation of regent members. That session included discussions on statutory duties and powers of the Board of Regents, their fiduciary duties, a discussion of ethics and gifts and travel with regard to the board and system staff. We talked about financial reporting and key metrics within the system, capital and facilities planning, human resources issues, and information technology. There was a part of this session included a discussion on our internal audit capacity and our compliance work within the system. We also talked about the communications and media work done on behalf of CSU, governmental affairs, and community and public relations. We finished with a discussion about the most recent enrollment efforts and initiatives and measures of student progress and success within the system. So it was a full day. And the intention now is to schedule another session just like this one in June for any board members that didn't make the first session. A couple other quick items. for the board. We are working on the forthcoming Governance and Nominations Committee review our bylaws of the board's bylaws, and we'll continue to work on that and report to the full board, of course, when we're ready. And then finally, we continue to work on a leadership continuity plan for the consideration of the full Board of Regents. So we've stayed busy. We appreciate the board's receptivity to our efforts to make sure we all understand our roles and responsibilities and the ways that we can add the most value to the system's work. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Regent Porth. Before I acknowledge Vice Chair James, I just wanted to say, Regent Porth, you did a wonderful job leading us in the search for the interim chancellor, collecting all the information, processing all that, keeping us on track, and making sure that that process was followed and adhered to. And so on behalf of the entire board, thank you very much for your extra efforts in doing that. And with that, I'd like to recognize Vice Chair James to give a brief update on the full-time chancellor search process.
Yep. There you go. That's right. The search committee has met twice since our last regular board meeting, and we are planning to give a report at the June meeting. As a reminder, the search committee members are Regents Bloom, Cummings, Jappanen, Porth, Yang, and myself. We will provide a report at our June board meeting that will include the role, structure, and composition of a search advisory council, as well as clarity with respect to roles and responsibilities of the search committee and the advisory council, with the intention that the search advisory council will play a meaningful role in our process. We have also identified 6 search firms that we would like to possibly engage with for the search, and they range from large global firms to those specifically focused on higher education. Rigorous interviews will be conducted before the firm is selected. We actually look for all members of the board to name anyone that they would like to be considered, and we want them to have broad input into the process, including asking all of you to begin to think about and identify individuals who would be good candidates to serve as chancellor. We intend to make a more formal report on our process, including how we will define role clarity and the desired competencies and skills for the new chancellor, how we will reach out to all of our constituent bases with the collaboration and the leadership of the advisory council members, and confirm a timeline. At the moment, we are looking at a timeline to have a chancellor named and by the April 1st. But between now and then, we want to make sure that we have allotted enough time for input from our various constituents regarding responsibilities, roles, character, and the opportunity to do a very deep background search and background check on any individuals that we are considering, as well as how we will narrow down the process and have involvement so that we can bring the candidates, the final candidate, to campus for various interviews. So the intention is to have all of that done. We'd like to do it faster, but we really need to make sure that we take the time to get the input from our various constituent groups. Thank you.
Vice Chair James, thank you for the update. Thank you for your thoughtful process that you're be following, and certainly appreciate the putting in the time now to make sure we get the selection right, which is by far and away the most important part of taking that work on. So thank you very much. I'd like to recognize Regent Jappanen for remarks or reports from the Human Resources and Administration Committee.
Thank you, Chair Santiago.
The Human Resources and Administration Committee met on Friday, April 17th to evaluate the new CSCU policy on volunteers, discuss professional development efforts that have been taking place over the past academic year, and review ongoing business process improvements and operational initiatives that have been implemented. The CSCU policy on volunteers was presented by Chris Wetchy, Chief Human Resources Officer at Central Connecticut State University, and one of the authors of the policy. The policy outlines the definition of a volunteer, including background check requirements, establishes volunteer roles and responsibilities, addresses supervision expectations, and requires all volunteers to comply with CSCU policies, as well as confidentiality and ethical standards. The Human Resources Committee endorsed the CSU policy on volunteers, and we ask that you vote to adopt this today. I also want to add that Dr. Tam Dale-Stevens, AVP of Enrollment, Management, and Student Success, provided an update on professional development efforts. She acknowledged and thanked Dr. Forrest Helvey, an English professor from CT State who assisted the systems office by leading the Professional Development Initiative. Offerings include 7 AI professional development sessions, 2 compliance and ethics workshops, 3 accessibility and universal designs for learning programs, 3 leadership academy programs, and 3 campus partnership workshops. These important programs reach more than 2,000 participants system-wide. Jennifer Person, Assistant Vice Chancellor of Human Resources and Labor Relations, discussed business process improvements and operational initiatives designed to leverage technology, create processing efficiencies, enhance transparency and decision-making, and strengthen compliance. This work includes the development of more than 250 operational and ad hoc reports, the streamlining of numerous HR and payroll processes, and the creation of tools to better track and enhance customer service. While much of this work happens behind the scenes, it plays a critical role in building strong, responsive, and compliant systems that better support our employees across CSCU. This concludes my report. Chair Santiago, if anyone has any questions on the volunteer policy, can speak up. All right, well, may I have a motion to please approve the volunteer policy today? So moved. Thank you. Thank you. And all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Okay.
Thank
Got
you
it.
so much.
Thank you very much, Regent Chapman, and we certainly appreciate that. Next, we will call on our Technology Committee. The chair of that committee, Ted Yang, was unfortunately unavailable to attend today. He sends his regrets, and also to let the committee know that the Technology Committee continues to focus on the banner integration project, which is continuing apace, and despite, as we would expect, a couple of little speed bumps along the way, continue to believe that it will achieve its goals and complete on time. And if that changes, the Technology Committee will report that. But as of now, on track. So that would be the report there. I want to note that at each of your seats is a substitute resolution on the volunteer policy. So just want to make sure that was the policy that we're approving. Everyone has seen that. So that was what was just approved. So we'll move forward from that. We'll now move to updates from the presidents across the CSCU system. We will begin with President Zulma Toro from Central Connecticut State University.
Excuse me,
I'm sorry.
Regent Santiago,
Yeah.
the consent agenda.
Oh, I apologize. You know what? Rookie mistake. May I have a motion to approve the consent? I mean, I was going to have to make one, right? Well, let me finish the sentence. I got you. Hold on. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda with the substitute resolution?
So moved.
A second. Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Now, we'll now move to updates from presidents from across the CSCU system, beginning with President Zulma Toro from Central Connecticut State University.
Thank you, Chair Santiago, and good morning, everyone.
I would like to mention six developments that are associated with the most recent work that faculties and staff and administration is involved in at Central. First, I want to express my appreciation to Regents, the Regents that joined us on May the 16th when we awarded over 2,200 degrees at Central. Regents Japan and Balducci were with us. So thank you for that. And it was a big celebration for our graduates as well as our faculty and staff. Yesterday, we received the response from NECHI to the report we submitted on January 2026. In response to a letter we received from NECHI in March of 2024. And the letter from yesterday commends Central for its strategic approach to turning around the decline in enrollment and retention and the success in increasing the total enrollment from 9,468 students in fall 2022 to 11,265 students in fall 2025. The letter also confirms the next comprehensive review process for Central, which will take place in fall 2028. So a very positive response from NECHI. In addition to that, our faculty got a grant for $300,000 for the You Teach program. This program helps us take students in the STEM disciplines and help them and educate them to become teachers in the STEM disciplines. This grant is in partnership with the University of Texas at Austin. In addition to that, we got a gift from a donor that has helped us open the expansion of our education clinic. So the clinic, the expansion is just open, and we are really appreciative of that gift we got. Finally, yesterday, we also opened our CPR kiosk in partnership with the American Heart Association and Hartford Healthcare. This kiosk will allow us to provide training in CPR to anybody who like to have that type of training, and it's located in our student center. I think that based on the comments that were made during the public comments period, I should talk a little bit about the exploration process we are involved with in the area of exploring the possibility of Central becoming an R2 Polytechnic institution. The process continues. We have 8 task forces, and contrary to what was said earlier, the process is inclusive. It has the participation of faculty, staff, students, administration, and alumni, as well as community and business partners. The process has allowed us to gather more than 6,000 responses to surveys, to direct input, and so forth. The input, the possibility for people to provide input continues to be open. There is a web page in which people can provide input. So I know and I understand there is fear. As a faculty member, I will have fear. The other thing that I need to bring up here is the concept of competition, because it's sad that Western, the institution that Central has supported the most, made the comments that were made. I take that to heart, and I have to say that we are working on a partnership with Western to facilitate students who are interested in engineering to start pre-engineering at Western and complete the engineering degree at Central. So the lack of information may be motivating some people to make these comments, but it's really sad. The other partnership that we are exploring as part of this effort is a partnership with CT State. We together have identified a number of programs that will be open to dual admission for students who can start at CT State in these programs and move directly to Central without going through another admission process. So what I am telling you is, I understand there is fear. I understand what some faculty members are feeling. But there are a lot of faculty members really involved in the process, providing feedback that I never thought we were going to get. We received 71 proposals during the process from faculty for new programs, program improvements, new initiative, and that's what we are going to include in the document, what is coming from faculty. This is not the ideas from me or the administration. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
President Toro, thank you very much, and I appreciate you highlighting cooperation across the CSCU system. It's something that deserves and merits to be highlighted, and something we should encourage and hope to see more of across all of our institutions. And I would also highlight another point, which is, as we're doing with our investigation, what this board wants to do is collect information and facts transparently and in the light of day, and then make decisions based on facts, not feelings. So I appreciate you bringing that up, and we certainly support that. President Karim Ismaili from Eastern Connecticut State University, your report, please, sir.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to also recognize that on May 16th, we celebrated 1,000 graduates. I want to thank Regent Yang and Regent and Vice Chair James for joining us. It was a very auspicious day for our graduates, their families and supporters, and a special day for everyone involved. Eastern Strategic Compass was overwhelmingly approved by our University Senate. The compass sets our direction as an institution in the period leading up to our comprehensive accreditation review. It involved broad-based participation of our campus and external communities. I will share with you, there was not one committee that was formed. It was very broad-based. And in addition to preparing students for careers, we will gauge the long-term impact of our public liberal arts mission by the extent to which our alumni lead lives of consequence, lives of inquiry, and lives of accomplishment. Yesterday, it was hosted by the Mohegan Tribe, which was a follow-up to the creation of Eastern's land acknowledgement this past November. I met with the tribal chief and chair, tribal elders. I visited government and cultural sites, and this is all about deepening our partnership with Indigenous peoples across Eastern Connecticut, which is core to our mission as a public liberal arts university. And it also gives life to our land acknowledgement. Finally, I wanted to announce that Eastern will be pursuing the new Carnegie classification for sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President Ismaili. And I'll just say, appreciate you highlighting the collaborative and shared governance approach that you took in the Compass, highlighted something President Toro also said. And I just want to say that it's that type of shared governance and listening that's going to help us lead to the best decisions. So thank you very much on that. Interim President Sandra Bulmer, Southern Connecticut State University.
Thank you so much. I will continue with the celebrations of our recent commencements. And thank you to Regent Cummings, Jackman, and sure, I can speak really loud.
I don't think that
I don't know if my microphone's
Someone
on.
check the mic, please.
Test.
Try.
Testing.
Try now.
Testing.
There it is. May just need to get
So we're very excited to also celebrate commencement. I've been there 27 years, but it is so different to be a president and be at commencement. It was so much fun. We had to have 3 different graduate ceremonies because as an R2, we really have built our graduate portfolio. Those were wonderful celebrations on our campus. Thank you to Regent Cummings and Regent Yang for coming to those. And then our undergraduate celebration was just fantastic on Friday. And Regent Japnin, thank you for joining us for that. Today, we had a fun breakfast celebrating one of our faculty members, Mariah Russo-Kelly, who was the System-Wide Research Award winner. And among those graduates, over the past week, we graduated our first students from the MS in Coastal Resilience, which is a program she teaches in. So you approved that program, and it's thriving and doing exactly what we'd hoped it would do. And to keep my remarks very short, we continue to take very serious our budget situation for next year. So we're very focused. And next year, we'll continue to pursue and identify new sources of revenue and partnerships. We're very committed to workforce partnerships that we have in place and making sure they thrive. Yale New Haven Health is a very important partner of ours, and they have supported us to scale our nursing and have recommitted to continuing that, and we're very happy. Additionally, we're going to be working alongside you to advocate for more state funding because we really have identified that that's a place that we have to get some additional support. That's very important. But we're going to exercise the discipline required in the year ahead to ensure that our expense decisions are aligned with our highest priorities, and that's our students. And that is going to include a continuing review of every expense that we have to really check ourselves to keep in line with what is our priorities and our strategies as an institution. So thank you so much, and I'll end there.
Thank you very much, President Bulmer. Awesome to go to commencement and celebrate. It is really something special, so I appreciate you acknowledging that. And just want to acknowledge that I've seen the work that you and your CFO are doing to really do your part on the budget side, and look forward to continuing to partner with you on that to drive the strategy forward and put the best for our students first and foremost. And I look forward to continuing to work with you and appreciate your comments in that regard. President Jesse Bernal, Western Connecticut State University.
Thank you. I'll make sure it works this time. I'm going to actually put this up. Thank you, Chair Santiago. So I want to also add to the celebration at my first 2 commencements. Just a couple of weeks ago, we were able to award over 900 degrees to undergraduate students and graduate students, and it was really a highlight of not just the year, but my career. And I want to thank Regent Ted Yang for being there and joining us and honoring our first honorary degree in almost a decade to Mr. Bob Yammon, a staple and community pillar in Danbury. Let me also just echo Dr. Toro's comments on our collaboration and share my deep appreciation to Central and Central's leadership team. I think I've been on that campus almost as much as I've been on Western's campus, learning from the great team and structure and processes in place at Western or at Central that we're trying to implement in many ways at Western as well. In fact, in addition to the academic partnerships, this summer we are implementing shared services around IT that will be co-led by members of Dr. Toro's team and a new structure at WestCon around our IT infrastructure pieces. So, if you're ever on a West Side campus and are struggling with Wi-Fi, we're going to get that fixed. So that should be a real win for our students as they come back to the fall. Another example of collaboration, and I'm not going to take all of Dr. Royal's comments because I know she'll highlight this as well, but as many of you know, we've been working on a partnership with CT State, and particularly as they advance the Danbury campus. We are excited to have a goal of having Danbury's campuses located on our Midtown campus by next fall, September of 2020. Seven, eight, one of those.
7.
Christina will help. But I do want to thank Dr. Royal and Dr. Collins, who is in the audience, for their partnership and our shared commitment to students. We recognize that there are lots of questions that faculty and staff have, and we are going to include them in the task force that will launch this summer. But ultimately, this work is about serving students more effectively and also demonstrating how institutions within the CSCU can work together in ways that are strategic, mission-centered, and student-focused. This will be a model for higher education across the country. It's rare that something like this exists. One other very important update, and I'll continue to add on to the NECHI updates. You could tell that their commission meeting just happened because we all received our letters yesterday. So this is a brand new news to everybody. So last night we received the official letter outlining the actions taken by NECHI following the commission meeting in April. And as you'll recall, this is in response to the 2024 notice of concern, and we had a follow-up visit in October, a focused evaluation visit. You'll recall that there were 7 notices of concern issued to WestConn in 2024. Ahead of the October visit, 4 of those notices were lifted, and so we were continually to be evaluated on 3 notices of concern. After the April meeting, an additional notice specifically about leadership and shared governance was also lifted. You heard from our colleague on our campus on the work we've been doing really intentionally over the last year to strengthen our relationships with our faculty, staff, and students through transparency and honesty. And so the commission noted that progress had been made significantly in that area and lifted that notice of concern. The 2 notices that remain as part of our record are around assessment of our academic programs as well as financial stability. I will say that the commission acknowledged our progress in strengthening this work and in implementing our plans. We too have adopted a WestConn focus strategy that will guide us through 2028, as well as a financial resiliency blueprint that was adopted by our university senate, which seeks to mitigate our deficit and really begin to close that effort on many fronts. And so, NECHI has said, you have a plan, now we want to see action. And that's what we've said to our campus too. We have a plan, now we're going to move towards action. So there's perfect alignment there. I just want to put this into context that we see this as a positive outcome, and we want the board to see this as positive momentum to WestConn moving into the right direction. There could have been worse outcomes to those hearings, like additional sanctions or even worse sanctions than a notice of concern, which is the lowest level of sanction NECHI can give an institution. So I feel really confident about where the university stands today and about our ability to continue to move the institution forward in these ways. I also have to thank Provost Hegedus for his leadership and partnership throughout this process. And prior to my arrival, the entire campus community has really leaned into this work together. And as you know, culture change and institutional transformation require really difficult work. And our faculty, staff, and students have leaned into this in deep partnership with critical questions and coming to the table with discussions and great ideas that I really am grateful for. And then lastly, I want to highlight really at a department level 3 things. One, our educational leadership program, which you heard about earlier today. One of our students, Frank LaBanca, who's the principal at Two Rivers Magnet High School in Hartford, just was awarded the 2026 National Principal of the Year. This is the highest honor from the Association of Principals, and he is completing his doctorate work at WestConn. And then finally, our moot court. If you've never been to one of these competitions, it is fierce, I'm telling you. But the provost and I went to this, and it was so impressive, the student talent and our faculty talent. So for the 5th year in a row, WestConn's moot court ranks in the top 20 nationally, outranking all Ivy Leagues in New England. And they continue that work and rank actually number 7 in oral arguments across the country. This is one of the hallmark programs at WestConn WestCon and our Justice and Law program. It's not talked about often, so that's why I wanted to make sure I share that with you. If any of you want some good lawyers, come get them from WestCon after they graduate from UConn. I'm telling you, that they're really great. And then lastly, I attended the Student Athletes Awards banquet a couple of weeks ago. And, you know, WestCon has a really strong athletic program. We have about 700 student athletes, 24 sports. It's a huge part of our community. And while they play so well on the field and on the court and win a lot, what I was most proud of was the academic accomplishments. Our 700 student athletes on average have a 3.5 GPA. 120 of them were inducted into the Division III Athletic Honor Society. 40 of those student athletes have perfect 4.0 GPAs, and they're nurses. They're studying to be scientists. They are studying to be social workers. So they take on a full load of really difficult classes, are practicing and representing WestCon really well, and I was just really proud of them. So thank you for the opportunity to share some highlights about WestCon.
President Bernal, thank you very much. Just wanted to comment. There's a lot you said, and so a lot to comment on, but I'll just try and get it in there to say that, look, your commitment to shared governance, to support action, not to get in the way of it or to stop it, is really commendable. The community outreach to make WestCon more of a part of the Danbury and Western Connecticut community, I think, is a key function. Things we hear all the time: be more a part of the community, because the community wants to be a part of us. I appreciate your leadership and your action in that way. Your collaboration just across the board, in the system, out of the system, is something to be replicated and lauded. Oftentimes people can try and lead from in the office, and I think as leaders, we do the best work out of the office, and I commend you for doing that. And last but not least, your attention to even the smallest detail, like Wi-Fi on the west side of the campus, I'm sure is appreciated in a year where the loss of Wi-Fi by some students is probably more dangerous than the loss of water. So we certainly appreciate all the hard work that you're doing along with all the other presidents. And before I call on President Klonowski, I just wanted to say, and the energy and passion and positivity you bring fuels me personally, and I know the board feels that way too. So thank you very much for all that work. President Ed Klonowski from Charter Oak State University. Ed.
I have 34 more days to retirement.
Whoa, this is, you don't get, this is not your victory lap yet. You have one more meeting, so.
I do have one more meeting. All right, I only have two items for you. First, I want to thank Regent Chapman for coming to our commencement last week. I know you guys were scrambling. You had some difficulties on the board. We really appreciate that she stepped up and came. On a personal level, it was my ninth and final commencement. I agree with everything the president said about it being the sweetest day of the year. For me, it was bittersweet, but they gave me a emeritus award. They got my wife on stage. I had no idea they were doing that. Embarrassing me seems to be something people enjoy. I can tell you that I was really affected by the ceremony, and I'm appreciative. Okay, two announcements. One, our undergraduate registrations are at a 5-year high. College has been its 4th year of growth in its population. Undergraduates have grown 54% between spring of 22 and spring of 26. I say that again, 54%. When I became president, the largest Charter Oak had ever been was 2,000 students. We're 3,200 students now. Matriculants are up. Stopouts are down, excuse me. Non-matriculated visiting students that are 5-year high, graduate residents that are 5-year high. We grew 134 graduate students last year, more than anyone else grew. It goes on and on and on and on. Charter Oak, I know they're not here, didn't write a scale report for the board. We're scaling. 20% growth is usually in industry considered to be scale growth. We've been doing that for 4 years. All the signs say that we're going to continue to do it at least for next year. So while I know that some folks aren't happy about Charter Oak scaling, I am. And it's a mic drop moment for me. All right, the last thing I want to tell you. Charter Oak's been awarded a $300,000 grant over 3 years from the Davis Educational Foundation. I know many of the other schools in the room have had Davis grants. We've had a couple in the past. This one's interesting. It's going to, the initiative is to support embedding selected elements of the Business Higher Education Forum's AI-enabled professional framework. The idea here is to take the framework that they've created. They had 50 industries and 50 higher eds to build this thing up. We're going to put those AI frameworks into all of our baccalaureate majors so that in a couple of years when students graduate from Charter Oak, they're not just going to have the diploma, they're also going to have this AI-enabled credential, if you will, attached to the degree, so that the college becomes known not just as a place where people get a baccalaureate degree, but where the graduates have a specific skill that industry seems to value. So those are my two announcements. Thank you for the few moments of time.
Ed, thank you very much for that update. Certainly appreciate 20% growth as scale growth. And I think, we often talk about putting our students or our learners first. And I think that part of that means meeting our learners where they are, and having a appropriate online engagement strategy, in my view, is crucial to meeting learners where they are. We have people that we need to see in person. We have people we need to see online. And I think as a responsible system, we need to look at both of them. And we certainly appreciate your work and passion in helping to make that happen. And it looks like it turns out that this year wasn't just commencement for the students, but commencement for you as well, moving on to the next stage. So we'll talk about that more next meeting. Last, but certainly not least, we have Interim President Christina Royale from CT State Community College. And I will just say before your report, if you don't mind, Christina, that we saved you for the last round because I wanted to have an opportunity to thank you and thank your team here at Middlesex for hosting us this morning for that award ceremony, hosting us for this meeting. It's awesome when we can do things on campus, but I know that it takes time, it takes energy away from other things, and I just wanted to publicly thank you and your team and the team here for hosting us and doing such an excellent job in doing so.
Great. Thank you so much, Chair Santiago and regents, colleagues, faculty and staff and guests. Welcome to CT State Middlesex. We're here in Middletown, and it's home to the accredited ophthalmic design and dispensing program in the state. You could actually go right downstairs and get some glasses. We're pleased to have you here with us on campus today, and also grateful to Dr. Joshua Moon Johnson, who's the campus president here, for his hospitality and leadership. I also want to thank and recognize all of the 7 CT State campus presidents for successfully completing year 1 in leading their respective campuses with some of the leadership structure changes that were made. And it's been a really great year. I want to also acknowledge and shout out to the CT State Middlesex Center for New Media team, who's here managing the technology for today's meeting. The Center for New Media at CT State Middlesex is a hands-on, career-focused media and communications hub that prepares students to work in today's rapidly evolving digital and creative industries. If you ever want to tour their studio, it's in the basement of this building. Just ask. It's a great asset to our college and the system. The center offers associate degree and certificate programs in new media production, including film and video, multimedia design, digital arts, sports and new media, web development, digital marketing, audio production, and communication studies transfer pathways. It's become one of the signature programs at CT State Middlesex and reflects the college's broader commitment to workforce-aligned applied learning opportunities in Connecticut's growing creative and digital economy. Beyond that, they also help with a lot of marketing, digital event production, and filming opportunities. So I wanted to give them a well-deserved shout out for their expertise and commitment to student success. As we conclude the 2025-26 academic year, CT State continued to make meaningful progress as a newly unified institution while recognizing that there's still a lot of work ahead for us. Despite continued transition and change, our students, faculty, staff, and leadership teams remain focused on advancing the mission and supporting student success across the college. CT State achieved its highest fall to spring retention rate since the consolidation at 76%, reflecting the collective work happening across the campuses to support persistence and completion. The college is now positioned for a potential 3rd consecutive year of enrollment growth, continuing our positive momentum across the institution. Total graduates increased 3% year over year statewide, and more than 40% of post-secondary credit students are now enrolled across multiple campuses, reinforcing the value and flexibility of CT State's statewide model. Dual enrollment continues to emerge as one of CT State's strongest enrollment and college access pipeline strategies. On-campus high school participation increased 22% in both the fall and spring semesters, following significant growth the previous year. This growth reflects the important connection that we have between college early access, our enrollment momentum, workforce development, and Connecticut's college-going pipeline. Significant progress continues on CT State's first comprehensive strategic plan, supported by the work of our Strategic Planning Steering Committee and broad engagement across the college community. This is really exciting work as we embark on this inaugural strategic plan. It has been a comprehensive, participatory, and college-wide process that has included not only faculty, staff, and students, but also external stakeholders, business and industry, and other partners that we have at the college to be able to give us perspectives on what the future of the college looks like and to help the future direction of the institution and how we support workforce development in the state. The college is progressing along that plan. We are going to present the first draft of the strategic plan that will be shared with the college community for broader review and input when faculty and staff return this fall. And our steering committee will be hard at work as we build that draft strategic plan this summer. CT State Manchester recently became the college's 7th HSI, Hispanic Serving Institution eligible campus, joining Capital, Gateway, Housatonic, Naugatuck Valley, Norwalk, and Tunxis. HSI eligibility reflects campuses that have at least 25% of Hispanic, Latine, full-time equivalent undergraduate enrollment. And this is one of the many ways that we reflect the communities that we serve across the state. Statewide, 34% of CT State students now identify as Latine, positioning the college towards future eligibility for federal Hispanic Serving Institution designation as a statewide institution. This progress reflects CT State's continued commitment to expanding educational opportunities and serving all of our students across the state of Connecticut. We also continue to advance our discussions with WestConn regarding the future of CT State Danbury and the opportunities to strengthen the K-16 educational pipeline and regional workforce alignment in the greater Danbury region. I want to thank President Bernal for his continued support and partnership as we bring both of our institutions together in forming a joint task force that will help guide the planning and recommendations moving forward. This work remains collaborative, thoughtful, student-centered, and has a shared goal of expanding opportunity and strengthening educational access in the region as we're continuing discussions regarding CT State Danbury as a future campus located at the WestConn University. And in closing, I want to extend my appreciation to our faculty, staff, administrators, and students for their continued dedication throughout this academic year. Later today, I will be attending CT State Manchester commencement, our 12th campus commencement for CT State, and the 8th one that I've been able to attend this year. My gratitude to all of the regents who have had an opportunity to participate in any one of the campus commencements. It is a true reminder of what we do. So thank you so much, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing some remarks.
Thank you, President Royale. 12 commencements, 8 you get to attend. It's a plethora of riches to be able to do that. And I just wanted to re-acknowledge the communication around collaboration I think it's so important in this system that we collaborate. I do believe we can rise and succeed together. And I appreciate you talking about that more than just doing it. And I think that will serve us well, both to help our students as well as to look at getting additional resources as we communicate with the state in the months and years ahead. I also wanted to say that I appreciate you talking about your strategic plan, the shared governance you're going through. We look forward as a board to hearing about this plan, to collaborating in the finalization of it, and to seeing it move into action. And last two final points, I had the opportunity, the privilege even, to use that studio here in this building at one time. It is very impressive. If you haven't been in there, I had recorded many programs ahead of going in there, but found myself intimidated behind the glass, and the quality of it was really impressive. And I know the ODD lab is something we should be happy about. And just yesterday, I broke my AI meta frames, so maybe I'll go downstairs and see if they can get those fixed for me, so I don't have to send them back to Ray-Ban. All right, with that said, thank you again for hosting us. Thank you to all the presidents for putting in the time to be here and for giving us your excellent reports. I would note 3 informational items in the agenda today. There are contracts that were just listed as informational, so direct you to the agenda, as well as the banner SAS update is also in the agenda, so I would direct you to that as well at your convenience. I'm sorry.
President Lawson has his hand up.
Oh, you know what? Felicia, thank you so much. Hard to keep track of that without the thing here. So Regent Lawson. Oh, you're on, there you go. Is that on our end? Regent Lawson, we can't hear you. I see you're off mute. Back on mute.
Can you hear me now? Unmute me.
Yes. Yes.
Hello. Hello. All right. Sorry about that.
Yeah, we can hear. We get.
What's that? All right. So I just wanted to take a moment and say thank you, President Royale. Having finally graduated at CT State last week, myself, I want to say that it's been a pleasure to have you as our assistant president for the final stretch of my time there. I appreciate your service to the students of CT State, and I look forward to seeing what you continue to do for them. Now, another point I would like to just touch on real quick, President Toro, I continue to have concerns regarding this repeated assertion that the proposal to transition CCSU towards a polytechnic school has received majority approval from students and staff through survey feedback. I've only experienced when I've in my experiences speaking with students, faculty members, members of the community, I've seen nothing but overwhelmingly skeptical or negative opinions regarding the initiative. In fact, the only consistently enthusiastic support that I have heard about this initiative has come from the board members here today. Now, I don't feel I can properly fulfill my role as a voice for the students if I didn't question this. I believe many people would benefit from greater transparency surrounding the survey data that's being referenced. Could you clarify how many students, faculty, or staff have participated in these surveys? A previous number you've thrown out is 66% approval. Where did that come from? You know, what questions are being asked? Are these survey results going to be made public? I think providing access to this data would help build trust and allow students, staff, and faculty to better understand how the conclusion of having majority approval was reached. And I think with the CSEU system being in the state that it is in now, the transparency in this initiative is really important now more than ever, I would say. Sorry, I'm sick. I
The surveys administered by the university name task force, by the academic programs task force, by the task force that is working on interdisciplinarity and the unique role of the liberal art and social sciences. All that information is being analyzed by the task forces, and I have read the information, the summaries of the information, and there are a number of concerns, and I acknowledge that. I am not saying that 100% of the people is going to be behind the idea. The other thing that it's extremely important to understand, this is an exploration process. We have not reached any final conclusions. We have not decided how this is moving forward, but I will invite everyone once those videos are posted on the web, videos that include testimonies from students, from faculty, from people that employs our students and our graduates. I think that it's important to hear every single voice. I understand there is a lot of misinformation out there, and I want to mention three very important facts here. One of them, what is at the heart of a polytechnic institution? The main change is that every single student who pursue a degree at Central, we will have the opportunity to experience applied learning. That's the single most important characteristic of a polytechnic university. And that's what employers, students, parents are asking for. The other very important thing is that you need, and we have done that research, look at the institution who has transitioned to be polytechnic in the last 20 years. See what their success has been in terms of enrollment, in terms of the degrees that they have developed. And interesting enough, most of the degrees they have developed and they have launched after the transition to a polytechnic are not in the technical areas, are in the liberal arts and social sciences. That's a very important point. And the third point I want to make is we are not talking about eliminating, reducing the support for the liberal arts and social sciences. On the contrary, we are asking faculty to be part of putting together a case in which the liberal arts and social sciences will make that polytechnic institution unique, because technical disciplines are offered by many institutions. But if we want a comprehensive R2 Polytechnic University that is unique, that has to come from the contributions of the liberal arts and social sciences. So that's, and what I am asking everyone is, let's put all the facts on the table. Let's consider everything before we reach a conclusion. But let me say, I know that some individuals has been against this idea from the very beginning, and they are not given an opportunity for themselves to get the information. And it's about, we talk about transparency. Yes, let's talk about transparency. Everything is posted on the web and will continue to be posted. There is a web page dedicated to this process. Every agenda of every meeting, the minutes are posted. Everything is posted. If you want to look at the composition of every task force and who is sitting in each one of those task forces, that is posted on the web. The president of the Faculty Senate is a member of the steering committee. The leadership of AUP, the leadership of SWOF, the leader of SWOF at Central is leading one of the task forces. The leadership of AUP, they are sitting in task forces. Faculty are sitting in task forces. I just want to put that out there. And I understand the fear. I am not minimizing that. And the last point I want to make, because I have been personally attacked because of my background in engineering, yes, I am an engineer, but I always have said that my success in my career is not because of my degree in engineering. It's because my foundations in the liberal art and social sciences that has allowed me to understand human behavior, that has allowed me to understand how we serve the communities in the best way possible. And if at the end of this exploration process, the decision is no, we are not moving forward with the R2 Polytechnic designation. As I have said publicly, the process has been worth it. The process has been worth it because it has allowed faculty and staff to be innovative, to dream big, to come up with ideas for us to consider those ideas moving forward. And I am going to say something, no matter what happened, I think that would be in the best interest of every student who attends Central to complete those applied experiential learning opportunities. If we don't do that, we are not serving the students well. Thank you.
Thank you, President Toro, and thank you, Regent Lawson. Regent Williams.
Mr. Chairman,
I just need a little closer to the mic, Tom.
Mr. Chairman, I think it would help me and maybe other members of the board if in the very near future we could get information as to this issue. And I think what I've heard in terms of some of the concern from members on the campus is that the name of Central would be changed, right? I mean, there are a number of different things, right? But that's one of the main issues that I've heard. And at least from my point of view, I would like to know, because the questions keep coming to us, if we can help spell out, if that were to occur, what is the process? And I think President Toro has talked about some of the initiatives she's taking on the campus, but if it could be spelled out, is this something that, if it were to be considered, starts at the campus level through processes X, Y, Z? You've mentioned some of the outreach, but what that additional outreach might be. Would that then come to the Board of Regents? It might be a case of first impression for us to change one of the 4 state university names. I'm not sure that's happened in the past. Maybe it has. But if so, what is the process if something originates at a campus and there are certain steps that are taken on the campus to solicit the stakeholders, that we know that, and then that we know that the next step would be, I'm just guessing, that it would come to the Board of Regents. Does it have to go to the state legislature in order to effect a name change? I'm not sure if that's the case or not, but I think it would help clarify what our role is when these questions come up now, as to whether there's anything ripe for us to consider as a board, or whether there's something that needs to be taking place first on campus. And then for everyone on campus who's concerned about this, that there's absolute clarity as to their role and how things would move and who would consider what when, so that then they would fully understand, there'd be 100% transparency as to if there were a move to change the name of a campus, how it would proceed step by step. I can't say that I know how that works. Maybe there are other board members who are in the same boat, but I think that for the purpose of those at the campus and for us, that would help.
So just to repeat back, I think what we're looking for is clarification on the full process, so not just the name, right? I think the substantive change and the name so that we've got clarity on how it's being pursued and what would have to happen or what the steps would be to implement the change. I think that's a good idea. And why don't we, I don't know where to put that exactly, but why don't we take that under advisement and either, I don't know if there will be time either on the next meeting agenda or the one subsequent, but we'll work with President Toro to figure out how to get back to share all that information. I see Regent Lawson has his hand up. I had a comment, but I'll let Dakota go first. Regent Lawson?
Yes, thank you again. This will be quick. I appreciate your points, President Toro, but can you bring that data to the board? You know, can we see that? When will it be made public to us? Like, we have these survey results that you spoke of, but where are they? You know, that's just what I'm asking for. I want to see what people are saying in these surveys.
I think the question was about when will the results of the surveys referenced be released?
The board will be receiving a document at the end of July that includes everything. But if I may make a comment about the name, one of the task forces is in charge of looking at the need for a name change. The recommendation up to this point is that they will not be recommending a name change. However, they are recommending continue with the evolution to an R2 Polytechnic, maintaining the same name, but maybe having a tag associated with the name that describes what we are doing in terms of pedagogical approaches in the applied learning area.
I appreciate that. I think when we talk about sort of the process and how that all goes through, that will help all of us sort of see that. Because I think what's really important from my perspective is the way we go about thinking about these changes, the way we communicate them, and that's done in an appropriate way and leads to the right result and not let the result be the thing that we measure against, right? Because I mean, look, one of the things I think we hopefully all agree on is that a key foundation of all of our institutions of higher learning is that we want to be a place where fresh ideas and all ideas can be discussed and debated openly and then, get to a resolution with the right process in place that gives the right input and the right feedback and forth. And so I look forward to having that conversation at a future meeting.
But I will ask the board if the consensus of the board, and I want direction, is that we should stop this process. We
No.
will stop the process. And I will do whatever the board wants me to do.
Understood, and that no one is making that request at this time. What we're asking for is commentary on the process itself. And so we'll work through that for a future meeting, which I think is appropriate to discuss. Any other comments? Okay. With that, before I call for a motion to move to executive session, let me state that the members of the Board of Regents will move to executive session in accordance with 1-200 subsection 6E of the general statutes to discuss preliminary drafts related to board affairs. No votes will be taken in executive session. The Board of Regents will reconvene today following executive session solely for the purpose of adjourning. In addition to the Board of Regents, the only individuals who will be in attendance in the executive session are Karen Buffkin, Adam Joseph, and Dan Anello, as they have information pertinent or testimony related to the matters being discussed. Therefore, allow me to call for a motion to move to executive session for the purposes I have described above.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Live streaming will be paused during executive session. Regents, we're going to convene in conference room 803.
Down the hall to the right.
Down the hall to the right. And in case that wasn't clear, that would include ex officio members as well. Shut this thing down.
We're ready. We don't have.
Regents.
We don't have to wait, so we
Okay.
can do this.
You ready? Okay. What do I have to say, Jared? That's it. I don't have to say we're back. Nothing happened. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
You'll shut it down?
I just cut the live stream. We are